Hello everybody, I just literally found out something yesterday and I think it's really cool, and it's all considering Clubhouse. Now personally, I kind of tapered off Clubhouse a little bit after the initial hype, but a lot of that has everything to do with the fact that I was not able to listen to Clubhouse rooms from my computer, and I would always have to use my phone. Now the main reason I don't like that is that I don't want my phone to be accessible at all times during the day when I actually want to get some work done. Now, with this new find, that is actually possible. I can log up my phone into my drawer, but I can still use Clubhouse on my computer. And this is actually all due to the fact that there is now a kind of open solution or a developed solution, which is not affiliated with Clubhouse themselves, but just fans of Clubhouse who created this application called Clubdeck, and it is a Windows and macOS application. So when we switch to their website here, you can see you can actually download this for macOS as well as for Windows. You get a ton of information on this page. They show you a couple of screenshots and all of that. And of course, they also tell you about privacy things, the shortcuts, how you can set this up with, for example, also feeding external audio into Clubhouse, and they have a full version history of what they are actually adding to the application as things move forward. Now, I have not found any GitHub repository that this would be open source or anything like that. I don't know about those aspects, but as of making this video, this application is completely free, and as of what I've found, there's also no in-app purchases or whatsoever. So you can just simply start using this right now. But the more important thing, which this actually makes possible, is that you now can use professional-grade microphones much easier, as I have described this process with previous things like the iRig 2, where you can hook it up to your phone and stuff like that. Here, you don't need all of those things. You can use your professional audio gear you use with your computer. And not just that, you can even funnel in sounds, like for example, for my SoundBoard application like Farrago, into Clubhouse, or use background music or any way of playing back music, what you want to discuss, or maybe just want to play as a chill out mode. Now, in this video, I want to give you a quick rundown of the application and then also show you how you can use the full suite from RogueAmoeba, the Loopback, Farrago, as well as Audio Hijack to basically tighten up your audio, funnel it into Clubhouse, and also add sound effects with the SoundBoard or the rapid fire SoundBoard called Farrago. Now, let's jump onto the screen first. This is how it looks like when you are actually already logged into the application. The installation process is really easy on macOS. And then when you log in with your phone number and then the authentication code that you get sent, then you basically end up seeing something like this. Now, what I find really cool is that this application basically gives you all of the things that the app on the phone can do as well, or at least a lot of them. I have not found something lacking that is massively lacking. Like, for example, when you go over the pictures here, you see those in bigger, which makes it really nice so that you can be able to actually see what the avatars are. When you click on your own one, you can actually update it. So it is going to ask you to upload a new avatar. When you click on your own profile name, you can see your own profile description, and you can even edit your profile here as well. And you also can manage your clubs, your friends, and all of those things. What I find really cool is that all of those things are actually opening up in these little back drawers, basically, so that you can add as many of these as you want, and you can basically scroll sideways. So you can actually keep your friends and your notifications open while you are still using all of the other functionalities. Now, you can also start a room here, and you can decide whether it should be open, social, closed, or in any of your clubs that you are a member of, and then you can simply start your room. You can also enter a room URL so that you can join a room that you wanted to be joining, which maybe have been sent to you by someone or similar things. And of course, you have the Explore feed right here, and you can do something with the searching up here as well, so that you can actually find other rooms based on that if you don't have the exact URL to that room. So overall, it basically just is the whole interface of Clubhouse right here in this application. And I think that that's really cool that they were able to basically get all of that information from the API and provide this in an application on our computer so that we can start using high-end equipment, sound effects, and more. Now, I have heard that there's also an Android app now out there, so that's a great development for Clubhouse itself to become multi-platform and not just be a iOS-only thing as it was right at the beginning of this year. But I think that a computer version of this actually will open up so much more possibility, especially for people that want to produce a high-end Clubhouse room, or maybe broadcast something that they already do in another platform or something like a radio show onto Clubhouse as well. Because with the audio routing, like for example with Loopback, you can do those things. Now, I'm going to demonstrate how you can set up the SoundBoard, the Loopback, and the live effects or the live effects processing for your microphone right here with these applications from RogueAmoeba. Those are not free. However, there may be alternatives that you might be able to use that are free. Like, for example, Loopback has an alternative, which is also called Black Hole, and I will link that version in the description down below as well, and I might actually make a video about this in the future. But as of right now, I personally prefer Loopback because it has a way nicer interface, as well as Farrago and Audio Hijack. All of those look really pleasing to work with and are easy to set up. So back on the screen here, I'm going to, for now, maybe minimize this application a little bit. We are basically done with the website, so I'm just going to close that off. And then you can see we have Loopback. And Loopback essentially is an application which can take audio from different applications, different audio inputs, and basically create internal audio devices, as well as send these things to output devices. So for example, I can take the audio from an application like my browser or a music, for example, on Apple Music or stuff like that. I can take the audio output of that application, capture that by using one of these plus buttons at the source area right here. Click the plus here, and you can see I can capture the sounds coming from certain applications, for example, my browser. And when I do that, I then can link this up to output channels, and those output channels are then the ones that I can use as something like a microphone in an application like the Clubdeck application, so that I can actually use this as my microphone in that application. Now, to set up this application specifically, for this Clubdeck setup, let's create a new audio input or a new virtual device. I'm going to start this with a, let's say I'm going to start it with an exclamation point and then call it Clubdeck. Or let's just call it Club. And then let's say this is the input. And with that, we have a device. Now it's at the top of our list. That's why I like to use these special characters like an exclamation point to move it up to the list so that it is sorted by alphabet. And here you can see we have the pass-through and then the output channel. Now the pass-through essentially makes it so that I can send something into this. So for example, if I have an application that is producing sounds and I can specifically tell that application where that sound should go, like should it go to the headphone port, should it go to the internal speakers, or should it go to this output specifically, then I can use that. However, we want to use multiple inputs here. For example, I have the Zoom F6 right in front of me, which I'm also using to record this audio to, but it's also hooked up to my computer and at the same time using it as an audio interface here so that I can use the microphone that I have here in a Clubhouse room, for example, or a live stream situation. So what I can do here is I can hit the plus icon again, and then we can go all the way down, or is it even? No, here we have the F-Series audio interface with recording. And that's the device that I have right now. And you can see the audio input from my voice as we see the metering right here. Now I'm gonna disable the pass-through right here because I'm not going to use that for the moment. Now that we have the audio coming from the Zoom F6, you can see we have the left-right mix on channels 7 and 8. And on channel 1 through 6, we have the 6 input channels of the Zoom F6 specifically. If you're using a different device, like for example the Zoom P4 in stereo mode, then you will probably just get 2 of these inputs because then you already get the stereo mix down. Now you can see we have these little bars or these connection wires right here. Now I'm gonna just remove the pass-through right here to make it a little more clear. You can see that we have the signal on channel 1, and that's the microphone that is out of frame right here. But it is also going only on the left side. Now, if we want to create a mono signal from that one channel specifically, I can hook up this one to both of the output channels so that there is an actual stereo signal despite the source only being mono. Now, if you want to funnel more things into, for example, the Zoom F6 and into the inputs of that, and you mix it on the F6 with the dials in terms of how loud it should be and all of those things, and you want to send the mix in there, then you would use the channels 7 and 8 right here to be able to just link those up to the channels up here at the output channel area. Now, with this set up, we have the club input. I can go back into the Clubdeck application, and now we can actually go in and start a room. And I want to open a closed room just with myself, and let's say I want to call this a testing, and I can start this room. And now you can see I have the room testing. There's just one person in it, and I can look into the settings, and you can also see that you have all the different options available that you may need for processing a room. You can mute everybody, you can ping people, you can give hand permissions, you can change the profile picture of the room, you have the audio settings, and much, much more. So there's tons of things that you can set up here. And let's see if I can actually zoom in. No, the command plus does not work in this interface. But what we want to do is we want to change the audio settings. So I'm going to just click onto audio settings, and then you can see the audio playback, audio recording, and audio quality. Now, audio recording is not so much the recording, it's more which microphone do you want to send into this room here. And there you can see we have the built-in microphone selected as of right now. Now, I can select the F-series microphone, but that would only be the microphone that I have on my desk with the F6. But we also have the exclamation point club input. So the club input right here is the one that we just created. And if I select this as my recording input, then the microphone that I have overhead goes through the F6, goes through the Loopback application right here, and then it ends up right here as my audio source for this Clubhouse room. Now I can also go in and change the quality, so I can go to with standard or a high quality mode. Now, generally speaking, if you are using this type of a setup, I would probably use high quality because you might also want to send audio, sound effects, and stuff like that. So I think that that's a better choice. But if you have a reduced line and internet speed, for example, you might want to use the standard mode as well. Now, something really interesting here is that you can also use the audio playback, so the room tone, everybody else that is speaking, and funnel that back so that you could, for example, record this, of course, only with the permission of everybody who is present in the room and also agreed to be recorded, because of course that's a big no-no in Clubhouse to record people without their consent. So be aware of that. But if you are doing a live podcast production inside of Clubhouse and you want to record this, you could also set this up to be able to record. And how you would do that is essentially you would go back into Loopback, and right here we can go in and create a new device, and let's call this again club, and this is output. Now, when you have set up the audio device in Loopback, you can check whether or not it shows up in your audio output devices in this case. However, oftentimes changes like these are not easily propagated throughout those kind of things. So in this case, I'm just gonna end this Clubhouse call, and I'm gonna look if I can open a new one. So again, testing, starting that room, and let's see if I can now choose this as my audio output device, and we have the exclamation point club output as well. So we can actually select this, and right here we can select the input again. So now I have the playback going to the Clubhouse output, and the recording, all of the sounds that I am sending to Clubhouse are coming from the club input. So now I have these two audio devices inside of my Loopback application, and you can see we have the microphone going in here, and whenever I speak something, then it also shows up here with my speaker head. And if I disable this audio thingy, then you can see we don't have any signal anymore because I am still speaking, but there is no signal coming in. And as I activate this again, you can see my speaker bubble here in Clubhouse. Now, that is all nice and dandy. However, what about actually hearing people when stuff comes back? And of course, this is only the signal that is coming from Clubhouse to the Loopback application, so you are not going to be included inside of the club output. Now, if you want to make this something that you want to hear and also record, you could now use the audio, like the club output, as an audio interface or input in an application like, for example, something like Audition, Audio Hijack, or other applications to record that signal. But you can also add a monitor, like for example, your built-in one, which would be your headphone jack on the side, or the built-in speakers if you don't have a headphone connected to your computer. And then you would actually hear everything that the people are saying in Clubhouse through those headphones or through those speakers. So you can add a monitoring device right here. If you don't want to do any of the recording whatsoever, I would just go in and use the audio playback setting here and select whatever output device you want there, because you don't want to process the audio that is coming from everybody. You just want to hear it. So in that case, I would choose my headphones or your headphone output in any kind of way that you see fit as with your computer. Now, I'm going to just leave this as is right now to basically have that available, that choice to actually be able to, for example, start a recording if I have the permission, as I've mentioned before. Now, how would you actually do this when you actually want to also include something like sound effects? And for that, I have an application open, and this is called Farrago. And with Farrago, you can play back sounds and you can send these to different types of applications. Now, in this application, I can actually go into the preferences and send the audio to a specific input or output in this case. And here you can see we would have the exclamation point club output, but we don't have the input at the moment. And that is because in the the Clubhouse input, I actually disabled the pass-through. So if I enable this again and go back into Farrago and go in here, you can see we have the club input available as well. Now, what happens here is I select this as my audio output for Farrago. So all of these sound effects are now going to be sent to this pass-through effect. So if I click this, you can see there is a sound effect playing and we have an audio signal. And of course, we would want to also connect all of that and bring it into the output channel. Now, if I disable my microphone and go into the Clubhouse application, my test room right here, and I make a sound with the SoundBoard, you can see that there is actually a signal coming through despite me not actually being sent through. So the microphone is not being sent there. It is just the sound effects. So if I play this sound, you can see the red bubble around the speaker here because of the sound effect being played. Now, if you want to mix those things and you actually want to hear how all of that sounds, and you want to do so by being able to listen back to yourself and the sound effects and all of those things, you can also add a monitoring device right here. So for example, you can send this to your headphones or through the built-in output, but of course you have to be careful with feedback loops. So you don't want to send this out the normal speakers if you have a microphone in the room. You want to definitely use headphones for this purpose. So you can check this, and for example, let's say I'm just gonna use something like I want to send it to the Blackmagic HDMI. Now it would be sent there, and I can activate this. You can see the audio would be sent out there, and then I can actually monitor this output. So in this case, I would have to hook up something to the Blackmagic Design ATM Mini to be able to listen back to what is happening right there. Now, that of course helps a lot to be able to dial in your voice versus the sound effects so that the sound effects don't drown out your voice. But of course, you could also work with, for example, just asking people whether or not those are too loud or how they do fare against your voice and those kind of things. So this is how you connect the Farrago application into Loopback so that you can send your voice, your microphone, and everything else to this application for the Clubdeck so that you can combine those things in a Clubhouse room. One more thing or one more step in this whole process to get a great sounding audio for your Clubhouse call is to actually add noise reduction, for example, to your microphone or do any kind of EQing and stuff like that. And to be able to do this, we actually need to send the audio through an application called Audio Hijack. And Audio Hijack is actually a really cool application which can do tons of things. For example, recording in really high quality, but also live audio processing as well as some form of audio routing. So right here, I want to start a new session. Then we see this interface right here. And in my case, I want to just start with a blank session. I'm going to choose that, close this off. And now we have a blank session right here. We want to work with input devices as well as output devices. So we will have a input device and we will have a system audio. No, that's the wrong one. We want to use a audio output device. Now, when you move these closer, they actually get linked together. So we want to move these a little bit farther apart. And what I want to add is actual built-in effects right here. Because we have a really cool one, and actually it's in the advanced ones, and one of those is ducking, and the other one would be called the input switch. And then I also have a denoising. And of course, there's also a declick. So now if I have all of these behind each other, let's put these like this. Oh no, let's not have the ducking. That's a bit of a too advanced one, but we want to just do some audio processing, and maybe we want to do an EQ in there as well, so that we have the ability to basically change our audio a little bit and play around with that. So what you can see here in this chain that I built is essentially we have an input device. And in this case, we would want to use something like, for example, the exclamation point club input. Then we have an input switch. And usually that would mean I could use two input sources, for example, like this, and I can then switch between these two. However, I love using these input switches just as a one-off switch. So I can basically mute my microphone by hitting that switch. So that's why I include the input switch oftentimes. Then we have the 10-band EQ. So you can basically set up different kinds of profiles here. For example, a vocal boost, and that just is the basic setup right there. Then we have the denoising, and this one actually waits for a signal once you start this whole chain, and then you can say learn this noise profile. So you basically don't say anything for a few seconds. It learns the noise profile of your microphone, of your devices, and your room, of course. And then it basically reduces the noise. Lastly, we have a declicking. So if you have any mouth click noises and stuff like that, those get removed as well. And then all of that is sent out to an output device. Now, to have this in a clean way with the previous setup that we just discussed for this Clubdeck setup, we want to go back into the Loopdeck or Loopback application. We want to actually create another new input device. So let's call this Club, and this is the Hijack. And this, of course, is for the audio hijack here. And in this case, I want to say I'm going to call this the audio hijack input. And here inside of the audio hijack, we can now select this exclamation point audio hijack input. And then on the other end, we want to create another audio input device or another virtual device. And we want to call this exclamation point club audio or hijack output. And we have that created as well. And I created one too much there. And now we have the input and the output. Now I can choose this as the output device here. So audio hijack, club audio hijack output. So basically everything that we send from here in the audio input, and there we don't want to have the pass-through, we just want to have the F6. So in my case, this high-end audio recorder. We want to make the connection again so that it is a stereo signal that is going to be sent. And then we have the audio hijack output. Now the audio hijack output is something that I just like to use as kind of like an intermediary, because we are going to be sending the audio from here, once it is processed, to the audio hijack output, and then the audio from the club input. This is the one that we are using inside of Clubhouse as our microphone, so to speak, our virtual microphone. There, we then can remove our microphone right here, and we can actually add this input from the audio hijack output, so that the audio from the microphone gets picked up from the audio hijack input, then it goes through the processing of the audio hijack application, goes out to the hijack output, and from the of the hijack output, it then actually gets processed and mixed together with the Farrago effects, and then those all go back into the output channel, which then gets used for the other applications. Now with that, we can start this chain right here with the record button here at the bottom. So I'm just going to start this, and you can see the signal is going through this line as I am speaking. And if I now want to learn the noise profile of this, I can be quiet for a moment and then click the Learn button. And after 3 seconds, now it is processed and it is going to be doing the noise reduction through this chain. And it is then going to send this out here to the Hijack output. The Hijack output on then is going to be used inside of the club input. And the club input is then sending that and the sound effects here to the output channel. And now I have all of the applications back on screen. We still have our club input selected as the input device right here with the high quality, and the audio is going to be sent through. You can see the talking head right here is highlighting me as the speaker. And if I play music right here, then we have that playing as well, and also going through this here into the Clubdeck room. Now, this is a highly advanced setup, and I'm sure you can even create more crazy setups with, for example, using Audio Hijack specifically to mix more stuff together. So you have your sound effects from different applications playing in there, mixing all that, ducking it with a master speaker, possibly even mixing it with other things like Skype calls or even more applications. And you can do all of those things with this set of applications. It is quite marvelous what is possible. You can pretty much produce a whole radio show or a Clubhouse room completely from your laptop now with the Clubdeck application. So I'm really happy that someone took the time to develop this Clubdeck application, and of course the RogueAmoeba team, but that's not just for Clubdeck and doing stuff like this. They are actually making much more possible than just this. So those applications, as well as the Clubdeck one for download, all of those will be linked in the description down below. And of course, if you have any questions, you can leave those in the comment section down below or ask them on my Discord server. That's also a possibility. Like this video if it was helpful for you. Share it with someone that might want to upgrade their Clubhouse room with better sound and working on their computer themselves. And with all that said, I hope you have an amazing day. Upgrade your Clubhouse experience with being able to join from your computer, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.